Don't miss out on exclusive Dragon Ball Figuarts and a free shipping campaign for the end of November at Premium Bandai at the link in the description.
Dragon Ball, horror, kaiju, and more. Steven Story Reviews.
Hey there, collectors, it's Steven here, and welcome to another Dragon Ball Figuarts review, and we are going to go ahead and kick off what I'm talking about, the countdown to Super Saiyan 4, and we're going to throw it back old school to Goku's brother and Bardock's best son, Raditz, one of the original Dragon Ball Z villains, one of the OG Saiyans here. Raditz has been a fan favorite and super duper highly requested since the beginning of the Dragon Ball Figuarts releases. Well, it's the year 2021, and seriously, Bandai did it. Yep, we got the SH Figuarts Raditz. However, there may be something amiss, or two somethings amiss going on with Raditz that may make you want to pump the brakes to see if you're going to want to pick this up. As a premium Bandai release, one order window and done, so you may have to look on the aftermarket. Is this going to be worth picking up, or should you maybe call Shenron and make another wish? Let's take a look to see whether or not Raditz is worth adding into your collection. As a general critique of the Dragon Ball Figuarts that are being made, I wish that they would sort of get a really firm grasp on how they're doing the armor. It seems like for each release, they're changing it up just a little bit. One release is going to have a fantastic, awesome matte finish to the armor, like the event exclusive Nappa, and then you're going to have some characters that are going to have a real glossy armor like Raditz here. The inconsistency with the armor, I guess it's okay just because of, different characters, different armor, but it would be very nice just to have basically Frieza's force, all of them, throughout the timeline of Dragon Ball, just be rather consistent with how their appearance is going to be. I guess it's stuff that appears later in the timeline, yeah, it's going to have different quality to it, but anyway, that's the point that I'm making. But that being said, Raditz in and of himself, generally, he looks good, in particular for my unit. When it comes to the overall faceplates, and we'll look at those a bit closer in the accessory section, the faceplate paint application and decal application really looks fine unless you're super duper close under macro photography. Now, Raditz is going to have just a couple of things that I do want to talk about, one of them being rather major. If you are looking to pick Raditz up, check out my unboxing. He is going to come with the Premium Bandai Brown box, and you're not going to be able to really see if he's truly 100% mint and sealed box, never been opened. If that brown box is included, you're not going to be able to see him. And there has been a quote-unquote issue where the Scouter is not included. This isn't true. The Scouter is just super easy to knock off, and there isn't a replacement earpiece like they did for Bardock or Frieza, so if the Scouter gets knocked off, he's going to look weird. Trust me, that's going to be in the box. So aside from that, the other issue is actually an issue that happened with Bardock as well. There is going to be an ab crunch that, you can move the figure around at. Fantastic. And on Bardock, where it first showed up, is you notice that there is going to be that gray paint that is outlining some of the armor on the stomach. That apparently scratches the paint off. However, on Bardock, I found it's not scratching the paint off on the stomach. What it's actually doing is the black paint that is going to be on the chest area where the ab crunch is, that's actually transferring over, and that is getting scratched off onto that gray area. So the gray area remains intact. I don't know if that's going to be the same on Raditz, but on mine that hasn't happened, and I even demonstrate that in the articulation section. Otherwise, for sculpt and paint, Raditz is pretty awesome. The masking for him is really good. Like I did make mention, there is the glossy armor, which, give or take, but it's executed rather well. Mine only has a couple of minor issues around the chest area where there's a little bit of the gray paint that I was just talking about, but it looks like that was just a manufacturing thing. Yeah, Raditz just looks fine and dandy. No issues whatsoever. All right, articulation, and this is the second take because the first one took nearly 10 minutes. So I'm going to fly through this except for the parts where I need to take my time. So Raditz's hair is similar to his brother in Super Saiyan 3, but a little different. We do have a hinge at the base of Raditz's head. You know what? We'll go ahead and take the faceplate off for right now. So it moves forward and back like that. And then we do have swivels, so this way we can turn the hair around, just so this way it doesn't get in the way for articulation. Now, taking a look at how the head is plugged into the body, you can see there is a swivel and a hinge, so this way we can move the head forward and back and rotate it. And then the neck, actually in and of itself, is going to be on a ball joint, so this way we can rotate Raditz's head from there. So that is a rather good system, I think, and something that someone brought up to my attention now. And seeing in a couple of different groups, it seems like some Super Saiyan 3 Goku Figuarts are actually having loose necks. I don't see that even possibly being in consideration for Raditz, so that's good. With all of the different armor figures coming out, it seems like they're all being engineered slightly different from each one. I don't quite like that. I think they have some good systems like Ginyu, and they kind of need to stick to it. But Raditz actually has double hinges for his shoulder pads, so that's pretty good. I do like it. It's not that I don't like it. I just wish there was a bit more consistency there. I'm going to talk about Raditz's shoulders in just 1 second, but let's continue on. So Raditz is not going to have your traditional butterfly hinges. He's actually going to have more like butterfly ball joints. So this way we can move the arms around in all sorts of different directions here where they plug into the actual body, sort of like that cavity there. He is going to have dedicated bicep swivels, which is good, except for this one on mine does like to pop out, and that's not because of the super duper shock oil treatment I gave Raditz, which again we'll talk about in a second. Double elbow hinges. As you can see, there's a little bit of a gap. That is just the figure, how it's engineered. That's not a defect for your particular unit if you do happen to get it. Raditz's wrists, they are not actually going to have ball joints. They're just going to have pegs where the hands plug in. They are going to have a peg into the forearm and then hinge. So you can get hinge movement in one direction, but then you're going to have to spin the hand and you'll get hinge movement in the other one. So what's going on with the shoulders? Well, it seems like that some of the figures that are coming out of Vietnam right now, they are suffering from some quality control issues. Most notably, we have Bardock and Raccoon that I know of alongside of Raditz here, where the shoulder ball joints are super tight. So much so, I can attest to my Raccoon having a cracked butterfly hinge area here right on the seam. So that's not good. So what do we do to fix that? Raditz was very tight in and of himself. Go ahead and make jokes there. So what do we do? Well, I do have a video on how to take care of tight joints, but I've since upgraded that to myself using silicone shock oil. Now, come on. There we go. You can see I'm still struggling here. Okay, so if you're already seeing kind of what's going on, you already sort of see the issue. You have a ball joint in a floating ball joint that is stuck and doesn't want to move. So here's the problem. If you want to get that ball joint unstuck and you want to move it around, your base is already floating and spinning and twisting and turning and flopping around. So that's going to be really difficult to get unstuck, even if you do have the best lubricant to get it unstuck. So that's really something to keep in mind. So realistically speaking, Raditz, the review for this guy was delayed a few months because now I can actually move the arms. In particular, I think it was this one, I couldn't move at all in the unboxing. So go back and check that out. You'll see what things I struggled with. So yes, it's very difficult to get that unstuck when you have that ball joint there. But likewise, Raditz is going to have hinges in his shoulders, so this way he can raise and lower his arms. That's that. Okay, ab crunch. Ball joint. Moves around just like that. And as you can see, I'm not scraping up the paint on the stomach there. So yeah, okay. That is what it is. Don't know why that's happening for some folks. All right, so in the first take, I discovered that yes, Raditz does have a waist ball joint, but it has rather limited movement. But honestly, with everything going on in the neck and the ab crunch, we're kind of good there. These waist sculpt pieces for the armor, they are on hinges, they move up and down, and yes, they do pop off with ease. That one does for me anyway. For the hips, Raditz can move his legs about that far forward and back. Do take note, he has a nicely sculpted behind. And when we kick out to the side, we are going to have that much range of movement. I will say Raditz does have rather not necessarily like tight, as in deathly tight hips, but they're rather firm. Here we go again. And that is to help balance Raditz with that giant hair of his. We do have dedicated thigh swivels for Raditz, which is good, but it doesn't seem like they want to go that far in unless I really force it, which I'm not really comfortable with, but that's fine. Like the elbows, we do have double knee hinges, but they will bring out that gap. So that is something to keep in mind. Again, not a factory error. It's just how it's designed. Hinge and swivel at the ankle for ankle rocker movement, and a toe hinge. So overall for articulation, I think Raditz is rather rock solid without that quality control issue. With it, for the ball joints and the shoulders, as you see I am really struggling with, this figure can end up broken, and considering the aftermarket, it's a pretty penny. Accessories time, and oh boy, we can go through this pretty quick, for better or worse. So Raditz is going to come with 3 extra face plates. He's going to come with 2 extra sets of hands, which are relatively similar, a folded arm part. He's going to come with a stand support part, okay, and an unfolded tail. So here are going to be the extra face plates, and he's going to come with a standard neutral smirking face, which is really cool. Not super smiling, nothing like that. He's going to come with a sort of shocked, gritting teeth face, which is really cool. And then he's going to come with a screaming face. This can be either angry or actually screaming happy. You know how those maniacal Saiyans can be. Raditz is also going to come with the folded arm parts. And this is going to be the only time that I'm going to use it because of the very tight shoulder ball joints and the clearance that Raditz is going to need for the angle to get these parts in. It just doesn't work. This part, I'm going to be blunt as possible, is a complete and total failure. I don't want this. Take it back. I'll get something else. It just doesn't work. It's frustrating, and I'm never, ever going to use this again. I hate to be brutal like that, but not happening. No. All right. So that extra stand support, that's just going to plug into Raditz's back with the little armor part that's going to pop off. You just plug this in, and then there's actually going to be a little slit in the hair sculpt, and this just rests in there, and then you plug in a Tamashii support arm in there, and you'll be good to go. Or you can just use a claw. That may be easier. Now for the extra hands, Raditz is going to come with 2 extra sets of splayed hands, one a bit more cupped and the other a bit more splayed out. Why the 2 different ones? Don't quite know, but Raditz is going to come again with an uncurled tail, one that's a bit more straight out like Goku could grab it, and it's colored pretty well. It actually goes a rather light brown into a darker brown at the tip. So I kind of flew through that because that's all Raditz comes with. There's no actual support stand that he comes with, despite the fact that he comes with that little extra part, and there's no effect parts. So Saturday Crush, Double Sunday, no, none of that. But thankfully, there are third-party effect parts on the market that you can get to help round that out. But I guess given the size and the price at MSRP, this works okay. Now let's go ahead and move on over to a size comparison with some other Saiyan figures we'll be taking a look at. Not necessarily Great Ape Vegeta at this time, but yeah, some other Saiyan figures, and you can get a good idea of how big Raditz is. So yeah, I think he'll blend in just fine with your Dragon Ball Z display. So buy now, skip, or wait for a deal. If you got in your order through the initial p-bandai order period, quite frankly, you should be rather pleased. If you're paying aftermarket prices, I definitely think Raditz would be a little bit of a harder pill to swallow, especially if you have to deal with seriously tight shoulder ball joints. That can definitely be a game changer, especially if he breaks on you. That's rather unacceptable. Now, for the paint issues on the chest, the abdomen, I can't speak to it myself because there was a widespread issue with Bardock that I experienced that wasn't an issue at all. So I can't say that folks aren't experiencing an issue, but maybe it's not. I don't know. What I will say, though, is that Raditz definitely should have come with at least one effect part, even if it was just a pink energy ball. That would have really sealed the deal. Generally speaking, I think a lot of fans have been asking for Raditz for years now, several years. And I think that this doesn't necessarily hit all of the marks, but it does a rather solid job. If you're a fan of Raditz, I think this is a definite must-have.
Well, collectors, that brings us to the end of the video today, and I just wanted to take a second to thank you so much for watching. Now, you've heard a lot from me. I'd like to hear a little bit from you. Drop in the comments down below whether or not you liked it, you hated it, or maybe you were somewhere in between. I also want to take an extra second here for a nice, humongous thank you to all the patrons for SDR over the last month who have really helped the channel grow into what it can be today. So to all of you, 2 big thumbs up. Thank you very much. And now the end card should be popping up, which will give you a few clickable links, like maybe to subscribe or head on over to my Patreon, or some short URLs like to my social media or to my Teespring store. There's also a video I hand selected for you, so if you want to watch another STR video, I hand selected some good content for you to watch, so definitely check out that video. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll catch ya in the next video.